Good morning, and we are live. There's a lot going on. Let's dig straight into it. I'm sorry, folks. I've had a kitty civil war breaking out here in the middle of my office when I'm trying to get things started. I apologize for the delay. I apologize for being behind, but I had to run Gangster Kitty out of the office because Dolly Parton here, believe it or not, Dolly Parton rules the house. And she, for some reason, decided it was not time to play nice today. And I didn't want you to hear a cat fight in the background. So here we are. Go be good. Whew. Gangster Kitty thinks she's ferocious, but Dolly rules the roost. Oh boy. So we've got a lot going on today. Some of it just insanity, just craziness. You've got Donald Trump talking about how he wants to reopen Alcatraz and send migrants there and all that other nonsense. Let me tell you something. This is a distraction. That's all this is. If you've never been to Alcatraz, Donald Trump's kind of a moron. It's a name he's heard of. I doubt he's ever been to the place. A lot of you folks, I'm sure, have actually been to Alcatraz. It is a dilapidated mess. It was closed because it was a dilapidated mess, and it was going to be way too expensive to renovate it and bring it up to standards. It doesn't hold enough people. It's a very small island. It's it would have to be literally leveled and a multi-billion-dollar project. Right now, Alcatraz brings in about $60 million a year in tourist revenue into the government. This is ridiculousness. It is nothing but a distraction. But of course, it got huge playtime in the news because why would we talk about that when there's more? Let me pull this up for you. More revelations about additional signal chats from the Wall Street Journal. And I don't know if this is going to be a paywalled article or not, but yeah, the Wall Street Journal has a new report out about, it was much more far widespread than we thought. It involved much more operational security violations. I told you, it just keeps growing and growing and growing because they're still using their private cell phones and having conversations over signal with people that are in foreign countries. This is not secure. This is stupidity. It is just more and more and more and more operations. We keep finding out it's a freaking joke. These people are morons. They're idiots. And this story will not go away. But it got buried. Trump succeeded. The corporate media ran story after story after story after story about Alcatraz and that idiocy, knowing it's idiocy. How many of y'all have been to Alcatraz? How many of y'all been to Alcatraz? And of y'all that went to Alcatraz, how many of you heard that story and immediately to yourself said, no, no, that is not happening. That is not happening. There are a couple rooms in Alcatraz that they've kind of half-assed kept neat for the tourists, so you can get some idea to kind of transport you back in time. There's like 2 or 3 cells that they've kept painted and in relatively decent condition, but even they're dilapidated. But the rest of the prison, you have to imagine, this is a building, concrete structure, concrete and iron structure that has been exposed to the sea with no real maintenance at all. You can imagine just how just broken down. And the moment this was said, I immediately said distraction. This is a distraction. This is a bad joke. You couldn't even renovate Alcatraz at this point. You would have to raise it to the ground and then build an entirely new prison out there. Could you imagine the cost of building a new prison? And how few, you've seen how, those of you that have been have seen how small this island is. It held, I think, at maximum like 326 inmates at one point. 326. I mean, even if they did a modern facility, hotel type, went up several stories, which I don't think the city of San Francisco would be too happy about, you'd get what, maybe 1,000 inmates max? And it would cost you tens of billions of dollars to build. This is idiocy. It's stupid. Exactly. It's in ruins, Harvey, Linda. Exactly. But it was a distraction. We had a brand new Signalgate story coming out that they knew was coming out. They knew the Wall Street Journal was breaking this story because the Wall Street Journal was in touch with them for comment. And that's why Donald Trump came out and said more ridiculously idiotic stuff. And of course, the corporate media is just more than willing to do this. I am not. We're going to talk about the things that are going on. We're not going to dig into the Signalgate story much other than to let you know that it is, and it has exploded, and it looks like it's really bad, folks. It really does. Marsha Klepper, thanks for always being here. I appreciate you. Dolly appreciates it. But yeah, no, there are more important things going on right now. We have no details yet. And the Wall Street Journal, I'm sure, is going to run a follow-up story that's going to give us more details. And I'm waiting on the journalists to get us more so that we can understand exactly how much information that that moron Pete Hegseth and just the rest. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard, a story just broke on Tulsi Gabbard that she is such an operational security genius that she's been using the same password for every account. And apparently it's a pretty damn weak password because they broke it. The head of our NSA uses a password like password. Oh my God. But yeah, we're going to talk about stupid shit. Amy Emanuel, thanks. Yeah, that's happened too, is they've stopped planes flying to Ukraine until they actually cut a deal for their minerals. And now that Trump's getting paid, I guess we're all on Ukraine's side now. I know we talked about it in the last show. The Russians are freaking out. V-Man 29,397. Trump plans to reopen Alcatraz. What's next? Is he going to re-garrison troops at Fort McHenry? I know, right? I said he was dumb as an earthworm, but I think he's worse. He is. He's just got pudding for brains. I mean, pudding for brains. He understands distraction. That's it. He understands that no matter what an asshole he is, that he won't lose his base. So whenever he gets in trouble, he just goes out and does something ridiculously stupid. But there's a lot going on in the world today, and we really can't afford a stupid president. I mean, yeah, exactly. You watched the Clint Eastwood movie. Thank you, Amy, for always being here to support the show. Oatmeal Pancake, new supporter. Good to see you from North Carolina. So happy that the Griffin finally conceded. Amen. Amen. There, we got some good news on that front. We'll talk about that a little bit more here in a little bit. But before we do, there are serious goings on in the world. You know, we may have this moron here, and we may have to deal with this kind of stupidity. But the rest of the world doesn't. I mean, Mark Carney sat down with Trump and was pretty blunt with Trump. I mean, there were no ifs, ands, and buts. But of course, and look at Trump. I want you to look at Trump. He looks like a dirty bum. His makeup is just getting worse and worse and worse, and they keep trying to use the makeup to cover his aging, but he just really does. It doesn't come off as makeup anymore. He just looks like a dirty bum. Look at Mark Carney. Mark Carney, they all wear makeup before the cameras. They do. They all wear makeup before the cameras. These Oval Office scenes, they all have some makeup on. They do. But Mark Carney looks like Mark Carney. He looks like every other picture you've seen of Mark Carney. He's just not washed out from the lights and the cameras. Look at Trump when we play this video.
As you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, you know, Buckingham Palace that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever. But the opportunity is in the partnership and what we can build together. We have done that in the past. And part of that, as the president just said, is with respect to our own security. And my government is committed for a step change in our investment in Canadian security and our partnership. And I'll say this as well, that the president has revitalized.
You know, this is just bugging the shit out of me. I want to pause this. Look at you see those things over the fireplace there, those gold pimpish looking crap things over the fireplace there. Yeah, Trump put those in. They're plastic. People went out and looked them up. You can order them at Home Depot. They're plastic. Gold painted plastic, and he slapped that shit on the fireplace. Man, he has made that place. Folks, I got the privilege of visiting the Oval Office ever so briefly, but it is an impressive place. The history of it just reeks out. Just to see it redecorated like a cheap pimp's office is heartbreaking. It is just heartbreaking. But back to Mr. Carney.
International security, revitalize NATO, and us playing our full weight in NATO, and that will be part of it.
And they have,
as you know from real estate, there are some.
Of course, Trump couldn't just take that. He had to say something really stupid. Never say never. Never say never. No, never. Never. And I love the way Mark Carney put it. He was like, yeah, I spoke to the owners of Canada, the people. Elbows up, folks. Elbows up. Good job, my Canadian friends. Good job. I appreciate you doing this. I really do. I appreciate the way y'all have stood up. I appreciate the way y'all have you know, I appreciate the way y'all have handled the extreme disrespect that's come out of our government. And I as someone who is not Trump, who does not support Trump, that is ashamed of the way he acts, I am truly appreciative to you, my Canadian friends, for the way y'all have handled this. Mark Carney has conducted himself with dignity and grace and shown real leadership. Christy Roybaugh, good morning to everyone. Thank you, Texas Paul, for all you do. Mrs. Texas Paul, thank you for the support and keeping the coffee coming to Paul. Thank you. I appreciate you. I really do. I appreciate you. I cannot do it without you. But yeah, but that's not the end of the stupidity. It's not. This happened again last Tuesday. Folks, the base price of these is $67 million a piece. $67 million a piece. We lost another F-18 Hornet. As they are for combat operations, the cost goes up to about $80 million a piece. And we had one ejected out the side of a ship. Because the ship had to swerve because it was under attack, because it's engaged in a military operation that I don't know that it is justified for us to have two carrier strike groups down there doing this. This is, again, has anybody seen the minerals deal that's been signed to pay for this? I mean, this is two military strike groups, and then now we've had a pilot coming in for a landing, miss the arresting cable, and right off the end of the ship. Another $80 million aircraft in the drink. That's $160 million in just those two aircraft. That's not munitions. That's not fuel. That is not operations time. That's not maintenance. That's not anything. That is not, support logistics. That's not the armada of ships that sail around these carriers and these carrier groups. The tenders, the destroyers that defend them, the submarines that defend them that are underneath. Folks. This is billions and billions and billions of dollars that are going into this. And this is not our shipping. Again, the first ship that granted, they are there. I've shown you the importance of that shipping lane to global trade. I've talked about it before. I've talked about sending the message. I've talked about how we should have just gone in, debilitated their ability to attack, and then turned it over to people whose shipping this is. The first ship that was sunk was a coal tender that was carrying coal from Ust-Luga in Russia to India. Russia is giving the Houthis rockets. And we're sitting there defending ships carrying Russian products? What the hell? And yes, I don't see Israel signing a mineral deal. These ships that they're targeting all have some association in some way with Israel. The second ship they sank was the sister ship of a ship that was delivering goods to Israel. So they sank the sister ship because they couldn't get to the main ship. It's all for Netanyahu. It's all and our European allies, I love you guys. I really do. I don't mind working with you. I don't mind working with you to protect your trade and whatnot. But this should be European carriers there. We should be supporting it. We shouldn't have our two carriers there, especially when our government, our idiot presidency is telling Ukraine, where we're trying to stop a ground war in Europe, from spreading across Europe, is saying, well, we can't do this for free. They've got to pay for it. Well, who's paying for this? I'm not trying to shrug off our responsibility. We built this massive military to be the world's police. We did. That's why we did it. Stability, to promote stability, so that little groups like the Houthis could not interrupt global trade. I get all that. I understand all that, but you cannot talk out of both sides of your mouth. This is costing us a fortune. Maybe it's time to, I don't know, punish Russia, who is giving them the goddamn weapons that they're using to attack us in these ships. But no, Trump's got to lick Putin's taint every chance he gets. This is insanity. Insanity. Yes, we just lost another plane off the side of a carrier. We're at $160 million in just aircraft for this stupidity. I don't know, folks. We're a community here. I like to round table this kind of stuff. On one hand, yes, it's global trade. It is an important part of global trade. But folks, that is not our trade. That is traveling from Asia to Europe. Those are the two bookends right there for what's going through the Red Sea and the Suez Canal. That's not American trade. American trade goes the other way across the Pacific to Long Beach and Seattle. I don't know, folks. What do you think? Am I being too harsh here? I mean, this is pissing me off. I mean, just the hypocrisy of it. Nika T, I don't recognize my country, all the incompetent buffoons in charge. I hope we survive this regime. Yeah, it is. It's incompetency. Newark Airport had to be shut down. These idiots they've put in charge are just, it's insanity. It is insanity. But really, folks, I mean, on one hand, I get it. I can make the argument. Look, we built this massive military. We spend more than the next 26 largest militaries combined. And we did it for stability. We did it to prevent small actors like this from being able to disrupt, I don't know, global trade. I get that. I understand that. I understand that. But when you say your policy is to, like we did with Ukraine, where we're trying to prevent a war from spreading across Europe, to tell Ukraine, well, you've got to sign over mineral rights so that our president con artist, son of a bitch, can sit there and make side money. You got to sign a minerals deal, or we're not going to help you. Then, okay, we're going to protect Israeli shipping. We're going to protect Indian shipping. We're going to protect European shipping. We're going to put our sons and daughters at risk, our pilots at risk, our military at risk. Where's the minerals deal? Where's the payment? Oh, Israel doesn't have to pay? Russia doesn't have to pay? India doesn't have to pay? No, I'm not for blackmailing people. I'm not. I'm saying what we did to Ukraine was wrong. Stop coddling stupid. Thanks for always being here. I wouldn't mind a new custom Israeli gel grip for my Sig Sauer. E.T., don't you know, Paul, we get something better than minerals. We get prime beachfront property in Gaza. That is just something. Israel has come out and said that that's it. Gaza's over. That's a whole nother show. That's a whole nother show. George Allen, I can barely afford my car and they dump another effing plane off the side. I mean, you get where I'm at, right? I mean, Half of me says, look, I get it. I get it. That's our job. We signed up for that job. That's our job. Do it. But do it wholesale. Get it over with. Don't sit there and lick Putin's taint on one end while he's causing this problem on the other. Can you imagine what the Russians look at us like? What idiots they must think we are? We are? What idiots we are? You know, those planes are going in the drink because of Russian weapons that they're delivering today. Sherry Ellison, no, the other bullies don't have to pay. Trump wants to be in the club. Yeah. Yeah. I'm telling you, folks, this has got me at new levels of pissed off. It really does. It really does. Good to see you, Mr. Slater. Good to see you. It may not be you and that connection. Thanks for supporting the show. Thank you for being a new supporter. I appreciate you being here. That very well could be me. Like I said, they've been doing a lot of work on the infrastructure here, which is driving people to the cell networks, which is slowing me down. So it could be on my end, friend. It could be on my end. But yeah, there are a lot of things happening in the world today, and this is one of them. Very, very scary. India, there have been several attacks. I don't know if you're familiar at all. Let me give you a little bit of background. Jump in the Wayback Machine. Back in about 1947, I believe it was, India was partitioned. You had sects within India that just would not live together. They insisted they were going to govern themselves. And Pakistan was born. They cleaved off a section of India. It became Pakistan. Well, that didn't go too smoothly. Pavilion, he needs to look like he's making a payback deal for the help Biden provided. It's all for show. It's grifting. It's criminal grifting. Lori, thanks for always being here. I appreciate you. I really appreciate you. So, India and Pakistan split the sheets. Muslims moved into Pakistan. I mean, it was a mess because there were Muslims all over India, and they had to pack their stuff up and go to Pakistan. And there was a lot of infighting, not to mention that you had the Sikhs that were in Punjab, and Punjab got cleaved in half. It really was not smooth, and it's been a point of there's been points of contention ever since. I mean, we're talking almost a century later since all of this began. These upheavals began, and they're still fighting it out, folks. They're still fighting. One of the greatest points of contention is the Kashmir region. And Mike Daly, Trump is attempting to hollow out U.S.'s inner strength that comes from military and trade alliance. It's difficult to imagine how this ends. Yeah, instability, a lot of instability. That's how it ends. Us cleaning up a huge mess. As usual, Democrats cleaning up a huge frickin' mess. That's how it ends. The way it always ends. The way it always ends. But look, this has happened. India just engaged in airstrikes, missile strikes, and drone strikes inside Pakistan. And Pakistan has, yeah, as you can imagine, did not take this well. This is one second, so that you understand who the principals are. This is Asif Ali Zardari. He is the leader of Pakistan, and he has vowed to retaliate. This is Narendra Modi, the leader of India, who called for these strikes. And it wasn't just willy-nilly. It wasn't just like India just it was Tuesday and they were bored and wanted to, no. There have been clashes in this region for a very long time. Vincent Day, scary world today. I keep imagining a separate reality where Kamala is president and things are normal. Thanks for mitigating the pain with your knowledge. Thank you for being here, my friend. Thank you for always supporting the show. Look, this is the region we're talking about. This is Kashmir. Well, you know what? Let's look at it globally first. Let's look at it globally first, so you get an idea of exactly where we're talking about and what's happening, what's different about what's going on now. All right, this is India. This used to all be India. Then in 1947, it was partitioned off. This region was disputed. They've been able to carve it up to some degree, and this region, Jammu and Kashmir, is administered by the Indian government. This portion is administered by the Pakistani government. And like I said, it's never really been smooth. Let me give you another map that's easier to see the distinctions in that region. This is the Gilgit-Baltistan region here. And then this is the Kashmir and Jammu region and Ladakh region. This is an area of dispute with India has disputes with both Pakistan and China over this region. And there have been attacks in the past. There was in recent history in 2016, there was an attack on Indian troops. In 2019, there was an attack on Indian troops. There was a bombing, Pawanese bombing in 2019. This one was different. This last attack was different. And this was in response to an attack. This was on civilians, primarily on civilians. And several dozens of civilians were killed. And Modi said, that's it. That is it. We are going to put an end to this. And just again, let's jump back in the Wayback Machine and we'll go back to the other map so that you've got an idea of how intense this is and what is different about this. Jordan, India attacked Pakistan because they know how weak the adjudicated rapist in chief Donald Trump is. This escalation is in no small part due to the type of attack and the severity of the attack. This has been going on. There are two primary groups. It's the Lashkar-e-Taiba, or the LET, which translates to the Army of the Righteous. And you've got the Jaish-e-Mohammed, or the JEM. The JEM are the more violent of the two. And again, these are terrorist organizations. They have camps inside, training camps inside Pakistan. The LET is a separatist group that says, hey, there are Muslims that live here. This is Muslim territory. Kashmir should all belong to Pakistan. And they just engage in terrorist attacks across the border. They have many, many times. And India has taken a look at this last attack and said, look, we've crossed the Rubicon. This is too far. This is going to be different. And what is different about their strike back is normally, let me pull up the world map again. Normally, they confine their responses. This is Jammu and Kashmir is this region. This is where we're talking about. This is where the raids, cross-border raids from Pakistan happened. Normally, the responses will be in this region here, this Pakistani administered region of Kashmir. And up here, this is where the responses will happen. That didn't happen this time. This time, they crossed over into this state is called Punjab. Punjab was a region that during the partition got bifurcated and split in half. It is a large area that encompasses. Let me go to the other map. It gives you a better image. I'm going to click back and forth between maps, so just be patient with me. Punjab was a region. It's where Sikhs come from. It was part of it was the basis of the Sikh empire. But you see, there is Indian controlled Punjab down here in the south, and Pakistani controlled Punjab here in the west, controlled by Pakistan. The Sikhs have been pretty much driven out of Pakistani Punjab. They're very much, this is an Islamic country, Islamic only, whereas the Indians tend to be a little bit more, they're definitely a Hindu state, but they tend to be a little bit more accepting, although there are great tensions between the Sikhs and India. The Sikhs want a separate homeland of themselves back in the Punjab region, and it is a point of great contention, and to the point where some Punjabi leaders have been assassinated worldwide. I mean, it's this. I can't overstress just how intense this region is, and it has Modi has just taken gasoline and just dumped it on the fire. But I can't say it wasn't with good reason. Sorry, muted. Okay. Y'all remember this fellow? His compound was in Abbottabad, Pakistan. And that's the problem, folks. That is the problem. Both the LET and the JEMs have training camps within Pakistan. And Modi said, that's it. We're not doing this. We're not doing this anymore. And he struck those camps deep within the Punjab state of Pakistan. And Pakistan said, no, that's an act of war. You've attacked people on our territory. This isn't disputed territory. This isn't Kashmir. This isn't separatists or militants. This is you, the Indian military, have now attacked us in Punjab. And again, just to clarify why Pakistan is so very, 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 very stressed about this. This region, you see the segmented line here, it may be a little difficult to see on your phone, is Pakistani-controlled Kashmir. This is Islamabad. This is their capital. This is the capital of Pakistan. It is not far from the border at all. And these strikes were all in this region, including Abbottabad. And the significance of Abbottabad is that is where Pakistan's military training headquarters are. Osama bin Laden's compound was less than a mile from the gates of Pakistan's training facilities, primary training facilities. Imagine, I don't know, a best comparison would be, West Point. They knew he was there. If someone had a large compound, 0.8 miles from West Point, the United States Army would know who they are. The Pakistanis knew he was there. And that's why this is a problem. That's why this is escalating. The Indian government has said, no, there is nothing off limits anymore. These attacks have gone on for too long, and that's over. That is over. And they are now attacking in Pakistan proper. And Pakistan has said there will be retaliation. And I need you to keep in mind that both of these countries are nuclear states. And neither one is known for being particularly calm. This would need a deft hand. We would need someone that understands the history, that understands the region, that understands the conflict. You know, I've just given you a Cliff's Notes idea of why this is so intense regionally, because literally Islamabad is a stone's throw from the border. These strikes are happening near their capital. I mean, this would be like the conflict between Canada and the United States grew to a military conflict, and the Canadians struck in Maryland. Yes, DC is its own enclave. Islamabad is its own enclave in the Punjabi state, but it would be as though the Canadians struck in Northern Virginia or they struck in Maryland. This is a big freaking deal. This is really going to escalate. I'm sorry, Asif Ali Zardari cannot shrug this off. He has to respond. He's dealing with a population that is, how to say this without being offensive. They're very proud of being Islamic. Let's put it that way. And they do things like, you know, Afghanistan used to. They allow these groups, these violent militant groups, to not only have training camps within their borders, but it's clear by their actions and their capabilities that they're being trained by the Pakistani military. You can tell the difference. Y'all remember the Charlie Hebdo attacks in Paris? One of the things that was really clear about those attacks in particular were that the people that perpetrated them were trained. The way you clear a room, your average dumbass doesn't know how to clear a room. There's a way in which when you're moving to clear a room, it's called slicing the pie. The way you move your feet. You can tell when someone has been trained to do something like this if you have video of it. These militants that are attacking India, this isn't just somebody that went on the internet and looked up how to make a bomb. These are people that were trained. These are people that know that understand how to infiltrate, military bases. This is a big deal. And by Modi saying, look, we're going to attack in Pakistan, that means all bets are off. That means all bets are off. And, Zardari has to respond. I'm not saying it's right that he respond. Don't misunderstand. This support of these militants in Kashmir has been reprehensible, completely unacceptable. But just talking about the politics of Pakistan and that region, If he does not respond, he is done. And Pakistan falls into even more chaos, possibly even a civil war within Pakistan, which will not end well. This is a nuclear nation. They are a technically proficient nation. They actually responded quite well to this Indian attack. That picture I showed you was a part of an Indian jet. They claim to have shot down a half dozen of their jets, drones, and several missiles. The Indians have yet to confirm that. But when they're standing there with part of your jet on the ground, it's really hard to dispute. So, yeah, we would really want someone in the White House in this situation that understood nuance, that understood that perhaps they should be briefed on the cultural backgrounds of both sides to understand what both sides' views are, so that they could understand their motivations and how we might have a way forward from here. Meanwhile, you have Putin again, who is nothing but a bad actor, who lives off chaos. When you're a weak bum like Putin, your only way to garner any power is through chaos. Putin technically supports the Pakistanis and economically supports India. Here, let me give you, I didn't have this pulled up for you but this is Putin and Modi from their last meeting. Putin's in deep trouble economically. He knows that China is an adversary, and he can only go so far with China as far as reopening his economy. He is looking to Modi to make deals with Modi, and Modi's been very receptive. I mean, if you're Narendra Modi, do you put all your chips in the Western chip, looking at Trump and the way he's acted and the fact that he's a windsock and he's willing to turn on anybody? You watched what happened in Ukraine. Trump got his palm greased with the minerals deal, and then all of a sudden Ukraine's not Trump's enemy anymore. If you're Modi, no, you can't put all your, I mean, you represent the well-being of an entire nation, one of the most populous nations on earth. Would you rely on Trump or trust anything that he said or did? No. Folks, this is a rough situation. This really is. I understand this isn't something that comes on our radar very often. We don't pay much attention to that portion of the world. We really don't. Most people don't know anything about India, or much less Pakistan. They can't even pronounce it. They call it Pakistan. It's pronounced Pakistan. They but this could literally blow up into a conflict that engulfs a huge portion of Asia, which will destroy our world economy. India is one of the world's largest factories. We didn't have time for this. We didn't have time for this stupidity. We just didn't. There are important things, critical, dangerous things going on in the world, and we needed leadership that absolutely could and function throughout the world in some sense of decency, show some sense of leadership. Instead, we've got this. The Trump administration, again, this is diversionary. They don't want to talk about the fact that their entire economic policy has collapsed. By the way, China and the United States starts trade talks next week. The end of this week, starting next week. The entire we're going to tariff our way into a new future bullshit that came out of Peter Navarro has completely and utterly collapsed. So they didn't want to talk about that. So they're going to do this. They're going to do this. They're going to load up migrants onto a military plane and they're going to send them to Libya. They've been looking for any dirt water shithole regime that is willing to abuse people that they know nothing about or care anything about. They're going to ship migrants to Libya, which is causing, well, it's causing a civil war within MAGA. It is. It's causing a civil war within MAGA. This, folks, this is Judge Fernando Rodriguez Jr. He's a South Texas. He's one of the judges that was appointed by Trump. That is one of the rubber stamps that they normally run the Republican Party when they want to do something awful. They run it through guys like Judge Fernando Rodriguez Jr. He's a rubber stamp. He's always like, oh, yeah, whatever you want to do, man, go ahead. And then it ends up going to the fifth, the appeals court down here, which is also stacked with rubber stamp jerk off judges that'll do anything for Trump. And then it ends up going to the Supreme Court, and that's when it gets slapped down. That is not what happened this time. Judge Fernando Rodriguez absolutely said no. There is absolutely no foundation for utilizing the Alien Enemies Act. We are not being invaded. We are not at war. This is not akin to World War II, where the last time it was invoked. This is just you engaging in a constitutional power grab that you're not entitled to. And that is one of their own. That is one of their own. So I keep telling you folks, this is going to be litigated. They are going to lose, but they're going to keep doing awful things because the corporate media made a deal with Satan. The corporate media made a deal. I will keep selling your shit. I will keep pumping out all the crazy distractions and ridiculous crap that you have, and I will pretend that it's policy. Just so long as you keep doing crazy, ridiculous crap so that I can keep eyes on the screen. And I will never forgive any of our corporate media for that. Ever. I will never forgive them. William G. Atheist #1, the world is moving on. Stats Canada announced a 23% increase in trade with the world and a 6.6% decrease with the U.S., improving our balance. Yeah. The world goes on. Absolutely, my friend. The world goes on. And the rest of the world doesn't live in MAGA fantasy land. They just don't. The rest of the world sees the government of the United States of America trafficking people. Many times people that we legally allowed in our country just changed our mind. At one point, we offered these people asylum, and now we're saying, oh, no, changed our mind. These are, in some cases, people that served in our military. And now they want to ship them to Libya. to El Salvador, and God knows where else, because the corporate media has been reporting, hey, they're making deals with other countries. They're not making trade deals, but they're making deals to ship immigrants and eventually non-immigrants to other countries. I mean, folks, think about that. We have gone from being the United States of America that told other countries, you can't do shit like that. People are people. You have to treat them with human dignity and decency. To the country that treats people like that. Do you know what kind of a shithole Libya is? Libya is not a nice place. There are a lot of places you'll see me talk about. I'm like, oh yeah, man, you need to know this is a first world country. This is incredible. You need to check this out, man. Libya is not that. Libya's had been torn to shit by civil war, sectarian violence, and dictators. And we're going to send people there to be locked away in prisons and used as slave labor. That's us. But another judge has also stepped up. This is Judge Alvin Hellerstein. Also hearing another case regarding migrants. These are all going to be kicked up to the Supreme Court, and it's not going to survive the Supreme Court. It is just not. Judge Hellerstein has also said the Alien Enemies Act can't be used to do this, supporting Judge Rodriguez in another case. These are two separate cases coming up through the courts separately that are going to make their way to the Supreme Court, with the judges all the way there saying the exact same thing. This is illegal. The Alien Enemies Act does not apply. You cannot do this, which completely undercuts all of the Trump administration. This will coincide just in time for us to have midterm elections. The Republicans are counting on, and the Republicans in the Supreme Court are timing this. They could hear these cases immediately. They could hear these cases tomorrow, because people's lives are being utterly destroyed. The Supreme Court could say, there's a reason that we have to set everything on the docket aside and we have to listen to this. This is life or death. We don't have time to listen to this, property dispute claim in, Ohio. It's not important. We have life or death things that we have to decide. They could do that. They're not going to. John Roberts is a Republican before he's an American. And they are going to time this so that it comes around at the midterms, so that the Republicans can say, oh, look, all they care about is immigrants. They don't care about you, Cletus. They don't love you like I do. They don't. All they care about is them brown people. Look at them. They're fighting for the brown people. That's why they're timing it this way. They're allowing people to go through hell for politics, for the Republican Party, when they could end this tomorrow. They could end this tomorrow. And if you don't believe that's true, look at the ruling that they just came down on Trump kicking transgender people out of the military. No, they didn't decide for Trump, and no, they're not going to decide for Trump. They aren't. They are not going to decide for Trump. In the end, Trump will lose that case. But the Supreme Court will normally, as far as injunctions are concerned, will fall on the side of who's being injured. So if there's an injunction in place and the injunction causes injury to a company, the Supreme Court will say, no, no injunction. But if there's an injunction in place because a company or a person is being injured by the other party, the Supreme Court will typically say, yes, injunction stays in place. It's simple, practical math. If they allow the injuries to continue, it is more to sort out later. So you stop it. The Supreme Court did 100% the opposite. Trump is going to end up before the Supreme Court arguing that he has the right to kick people out of the military because they're transgender. He's going to lose that. The Supreme Court just ruled and said, oh, no, he can do that. In the meantime, he can do that. Until we hear the case, he can do that. That your attempt to get an injunction to stop that behavior, no, we can't do that. He's going to allow the aggrieved parties who are going to end up winning this case and suing for damages, back pay, retirements, etc. They are allowing that chaos to escalate and escalate and escalate against all norms because they're Republicans. Because they're Republicans. Not really, no. 250K ohms asks, is that setting a precedent? Not really, no. Because it's just a decision on an injunction. It's not a decision. It's the way the corporate media has portrayed it. Again, I hate the corporate media. If you read the articles, Supreme Court sides with Trump over transgender soldiers. Not what happened. Not what happened at all. That case has not even been heard yet. This is about an injunction to stop them from acting against soldiers that are serving honorably in our military. That's how partisan this Supreme Court is. How much they're willing to break their own precedent and their own reasoning. I mean, y'all understand that, right? Y'all understand the point I'm making about how they usually fall on these injunctions. It's to stop the mess from growing is the way they normally fall on one side or the other. This is not that case. And we have no leadership. All we have are people like Stephen Miller, people like Pete Hegseth, these frickin' morons, these depraved, disgusting individuals, these broken jerk-off people. And they're being supported by people like John Roberts. They're being made valid by our corporate media because our corporate media, they made a deal with Satan. You know, I showed you the article before where they were talking about the Columbia School of Journalism. You had several members of the White House press corps that were complaining because Biden was boring. They hated that whenever they had a question, the Biden administration would just say, okay, look, we're going to set you up with the experts that are advising us and they can give you direct, real information instead of giving them sick, twisted sound bites, which is what they want. They wanted tabloid bat boy bullshit so that they could put eyes on the screen instead of an administration that was boring because they were just governing. And I can't tell you how much that just enrages me that these selfish sons of bitches were just so willing to screw over my kids, your kids, our grandkids' futures so they could put some eyes on the screen and have some tabloid shit happen at the press pool in the White House. Fuck you. I hope you fucking die of ass cancer. Oh, that's going to get me demonetized. Hell, they may end my life for saying that. That's just a personal sentiment. YouTube. That's just a personal sentiment. It's not a threat. Well, this is going on right now. This is going on right now as we speak. It is 6:08 p.m. They've probably had a vote, and we've probably seen black smoke coming out of the Sistine Chapel. It is 6:08 p.m. in Rome right now. But the Papal Conclave has begun. They've been at it all day long. This, my friends, is Pope Pius X. This is Pope Pius X. And the reason I'm talking about Pope Pius X is he was the first pope. People think that the whole white smoke, black smoke, and all the traditions that we know about the Papal Enclave now, they think that that is, ancient. It's not. It first started in 1903 with the election of Pope Pius. He ordered the ballots burned after the Papal Conclave. See, the church isn't, people look at the church and they just kind of think it's some sort of kingdom that your average person doesn't understand the politics and the influences and the everything that goes in on this. And what the church wanted was the cardinals to get together and choose who they felt was the best pope, period. The problem is you get outside influences. The Catholic Church is in a unique situation. It is mostly funded by the people, but not all of it. It has large patrons, very large patrons. And those patrons have undue influence in different archdioceses where these cardinals are. And to prevent these people that are not of the church, they're members of the church, they're parishioners, to prevent them from having undue influence and playing politics with their influence and trying to choose the pope that they want. The church has been very, very restrictive for centuries on how these conclaves are conducted. In fact, I mean, it used to be pretty brutal. They would have, Glenn Kaneko, thanks. Appreciate you, man, for the cussing jar. Thank you. William G. Atheist, another contribution for demonetization. Thank you. I appreciate it. I got to learn to watch my mouth. ET, you can also be on Substack as well. I've thought about a Substack, but I just really haven't dug into it yet. I need to. I really need to. But here's the thing. These rules are in place to keep it centralized within the Cardinal College to prevent undue outside influence. And there used to be, like I said, some pretty brutal rules, including even the amount of food. They used to be, they would have each cardinal would have just a room to themselves with only 2 servants, and those servants would bring them food. This is back in the day, would bring them food and have to give them their food through a window. And they actually went so far as to control the types of food that they could have to keep cardinals from certain regions and areas from influencing, making, because if you make somebody feel better, they're more than likely to like you. To prevent those kinds of influence, they actually went so far as to dictate what the menus were and how they were fed. And it was it was really fascinating. I think it was, hell, I don't remember the year. If I guessed, I'd be wrong. But they changed this. It used to be after the 8th day of the conclave. After the 3rd day, they would go to 1 meal a day for the cardinals. 1 meal a day. And then after the 8th day, that meal became bread and water to force them to do their jobs, to get people to cave so that they didn't just stick to their own politics and their own groups. So, most people think that the whole white smoke, black smoke thing, they think it's as historic and ancient as all of the rules around this conclave, and it's not. It's not. It actually came out in 1903 with Pope Pius, the election of Pope Pius. He decided after that conclave that they would burn the ballots so that whoever voted, if they were from a region where their patrons and their supporters didn't like that pope, they wouldn't suffer any consequences. No one would ever know, because before that, people knew it didn't stay secret for long. So Pope Pius had ovens installed in the Sistine Chapel during the Papal Conclave. J.D. Christie, appreciate you. I appreciate you. George Allen, thanks for always supporting the show, my friend. Warren Benson, please keep up your hard work. We appreciate you. No, I appreciate you. That chimney that you see where the smoke comes from isn't always there. It's not. It's not a functioning chimney all the time. It's put in place for this. Busy Bee, I love your podcast. Elbows up. Thanks for being here, my Canadian friends. I appreciate you. Pope Pius had this installed, and it's only installed during the Papal Conclave, actually prior to the Papal Conclave. And you see the copper ducting that goes up, and then you've got the copper ducting on the roof. After each vote, the ballots are taken, and they're mixed with different chemicals. Because believe it or not, if you've never tried to burn a book, books don't burn easy. You need an oxidizer. You need fuel. You need it. So they coat these ballots. When they throw the ballots in there, in between every so many ballots, they throw in a combination of different chemicals. If the vote fails, they want it to be black. So they put potassium perchlorate as the oxidizer. They use atrazine and sulfur to make it burn black. If they come to a 2/3 consensus and they go to burn the ballots after the consensus, they put in potassium chlorate, not perchlorate, lactose, sugar, and pine resin, or what they call Greek pitch, powdered pine resin, and that will burn white and generate a considerable amount of white smoke. Now, the reason they went to the different colors, and this was a dictate in 1914 when Pope Pius was dying, because the first time when he ordered the ballots burned, it was 7 days of voting with 4 to 5 votes per day. The first day you get 1 vote. And we're not gonna see a pope today. I'm gonna stick my neck out and say we're not gonna see a pope today, because there's never been a pope selected on the first day. Intentionally, the Cardinal College doesn't really. It would be a miracle to get a pope on the first day, because they asked, okay, look, this is basically a feeler vote to get an idea of who the main guys are that have the support. This really, they don't ever intend it. And there's usually only 1 vote on the first day. But Pius, it went 7 days. So you're talking about 4 or 5 times a day, the smoke was coming out of the Sistine Chapel. And people were like, what the hell, man? Do we have a pope or not? This and the other. So they decided to clarify. When Pope Pius was dying and he knew there was going to be a papal conclave, he issued an edict that said, look, find a way to make this burn different colors. And we're going to tell everybody, if it's black smoke, no pope. If it's white smoke, the vote's gone through, and we finally do have a pope. And that's how we got it. We're talking 1940. We're talking about World War I, that time that this actually all started to happen. Jeanette Dahl, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the show all the time, Jeanette. I'm so glad to have you. These are Danish people here, a Danish community here. What would happen if someone attacked the United States with all the layoffs in the military? It's really a scenario you don't want to think through. I think we're in danger of terrorist attacks. But as far as an actual nation-on-nation attack, I don't really see that happening, because that would galvanize the United States in a way that Look, I've said this before and I stay behind it. The United States has the only military in the world where we could declare war on the entire fucking world and have a shot. The disparity between our military and everyone else's, it's not the same language. It's not the same. It's not the same ballpark. Hell, it's not even the same fucking sport. You have no idea what our military is. The rest of the world, y'all have no clue our military capabilities. Most Americans don't even understand fully our military capabilities. Nobody's going to attack us. Not another nation. Terrorist attacks I see happening. I do, because of all the radical shit that's going on around the world. Yeah, I could see that happening. George Allen, this is a historical perspective, is amazing. Yeah, it's really fascinating. It's really fascinating when you dig into it. But this is where the Cardinal College meets. This is where the Cardinal College meets. Inside the Sistine Chapel. Look how beautiful it is. Just stunning. And FYI, all around, see the doors on the outside of every one of these doors and the inside of every one of these doors. There are signs, typically, not when this is going on, because there's so much secrecy. There's no need for don't take pictures. There's no need to tell the Cardinal College that. They're not allowed cell phones. They're not allowed any kind of electronic devices at all. This is done in ultra secrecy. They've got film they put over the windows. They've got anti-drone electronic cannons to knock drones down. This is done in modern secrecy. So the signs don't have to be there, but typically there are big signs at each one of these doors that says, do not take pictures. So when J.D. Vance took pictures inside that room, he knew exactly what the fuck he was doing, because he's a piece of shit. Colleen Sarah saw online a piece claiming the Cardinals are watching the conclave because they don't understand the process. So I'm saying that is not true. That is not true. They fully understand the process. They do. They're about to be confined until they make a decision. They know what the terms of their confinement is and what their job is 100%. In fact, Sally, thank you for supporting the show. I'm truly grateful. The Inquisitive Prince, as a former GOP converted to progressive after the George W. Bush debacle, I know the GOP. I'll say it loud. Progressives, please learn how to fight the GOP. They're a well-oiled machine. Fight to put qualified judges in charge. Amen. 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 I've got a little something for you at the end of the show you're really going to like. Amy Poe, the military teaches candidates country before self. I want our military to think of self before stupidity. Yeah, I'm telling you. Thank you, folks, for supporting the show. Thank you. I appreciate you. But here are the chimneys. This is what, when I talked about the chimneys and the flu, this is what's poking out the top of the Sistine Chapel when the vote fails. Again, there's 4 to 5 votes per day. It usually goes a couple of days. It took 2 days worth of voting before we got Pope Francis. It took 3 days of voting, I believe, before we got John Paul II. It's going to be several of these black smokes events that are going to happen. And I'm sure there's one right now on the media, the black smoke pouring out of this chimney, because there's never been a pope elected on the first vote. Never. This is what it looks like when they elect a pope. Again, you've got the potassium chlorate, lactose, and pine resin thrown in with the ballots to cause tons of white smoke. But right now, we've got no pope. David Martinez, thank you for being here, sir. Look, he in Texas had an election. Trump's people lost school board and city. You're giving it away, man. That was what I was going to close the show with, brother. I love that you people are so far ahead of things. I love it. I got some good news for you at the end of the show. That old David's giving it away, my brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate you being here. City mayors lost their seats. Democrats are gaining power. Change is coming. Amen, brother. Amen. So yeah, you got something to look forward to at the end of the show. Stick with me. There is no pope. There is no pope. And right now, we've got running the Catholic Church. There's what's called a Carmelingo, and then there's the cardinal head of the Cardinal College. Right now, the power within the Catholic Church is bifurcated between these two men. This is, and by the way, Kevin Farrell here is actually an outside possibility for Pope. He was Irish by birth. He's born in Dublin. This is Kevin Farrell. He's the Carmelingo. What the Carmelingo does is he is, maybe the best way to put this. If the Pope were the king of the church, the Carmelingo is the prime minister. He controls, in the event of the Pope's death, when the Pope's alive, of course, the buck stops with the Pope. But with the Pope being dead, the Carmelingo is the person that declares the Pope dead, seals the papal residency. He is in charge of the Pope's finances and its properties. He's the day-to-day manager of the church. In fact, he is the person that is in charge of establishing everything. Somebody was saying that the cardinals didn't really understand the process and we're looking to the movie The Conclave. That's absolutely not true. This is Cardinal Kevin Farrell's job, as he's the one that briefs everybody. He's the one that sets everything up. He's the one that has all the meals brought. The day-to-day operations of the church, he's the Carmelingo. He is in charge. Politically and making the decisions right now is falling on this man. He is the head of the Cardinal College. This is Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re. Right now, the most powerful Catholic on the face of the earth until we get another Pope. He is the person that has called the Cardinal College together. He's going to be the person that's in charge of conducting the votes when the votes happen. He will be the person that is in charge of validifying the vote when the counts are done. He's the one that says, yes, we have a pope, or no, we do not have a pope. These men are what's going on. What? No Pope, but Trump picture? Yeah, no kidding, right? Trump sent a meme, stupid AI meme out of him as Pope. How freaking insulting. How freaking insulting. Just that man is such a disgusting, gross, vomitous jackass. But yeah, Kevin Farrell, by the way, he's an outside dark horse, but he is absolutely. There's been two Carmelingos that have been elevated to be Pope in history. He would be the third, but he's a conservative like Pope Francis. Yes, Francis was a conservative. Francis was so well liked. A lot of people confuse him with being a liberal. No, there are liberals within the church that disagree with church doctrine on divorce, on the LGBTQ plus community. Francis did not change the church's position on those issues. What Francis achieved as Pope was he took the church's focus off of those issues. The church was laser focused on divorce. It was laser focused on controlling women. It was laser focused on the LGBTQ plus community. And Pope Francis, when he became Pope, said, "What are you doing? This is not our mission on earth. This is not why we're here." And when asked about uh, 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 the conservative factions within the Cardinals, and again, it's not just the Cardinals. In each one of their dioceses, there are patrons, just like you have here, that spread misinformation, that spread, just like we see with our social media throughout the world now. This happens within the church, and these people that were against, that are the ultra conservatives, or what they call the traditionalists, um, spread a rumor that there was an LGBTQ plus caucus within the papist, within the Vatican itself. And Francis said, "No, that is not true." And they said, "Well, what's your stance? Have you changed? Have you changed your stance?" And his response is part of history now. He said, "If a person is gay and they are seeking God and they have a good heart and they are a good person, who am I to judge them?" And the traditionalists went, but he did not change his stance or church doctrine. There was no canonical change in the church's stance. He just said, "Look, I'm the Pope. I control what we talk about and what we worry about. And I'm not worried predominantly about whether a woman that is in a bad marriage wants to get a divorce. That shouldn't be what we're fighting about. What we should be fighting about is immigration, about people starving, about things like, U.S. aid." And that's where Kevin Farrell, which, by the way, he's an American citizen, which is what makes him a dark horse. If he were just Irish, he would be a strong contender to be Pope. But the fact that he is actually an American citizen, he's the former uh, Archbishop of Dallas, um, just up the road from me in Dallas. He is conservative, just like Francis, but he holds the same views, the same, you know, priorities for the Catholic Church. And that's what we're going to see. I mean, we really don't know where this vote is going to go. Is the church going to go back to another traditionalist, where they go back to the hardline bullshit like you see out of Cardinal Dolan? Or are we going to see people like, Marx and Zippy and Farrell, and where they continue on with decency and openness? Because it was a real change, even from John Paul II to Francis. It was a real sea change in how the church conducted itself. The church had a point of view prior to Francis that, hey, we're the church. We are the avenue to God, period. And Francis said, there are a lot of people in this world that are good and decent people that don't follow the Catholic faith. And I am not willing to say that they're condemned to hell just because they follow another faith. And they open doors to, you know, they started dialogues again with the Orthodox Church, and reached out to Islamic nations. They reached out. Even here, you've got the evangelical radicals here, but Francis said, "No, we're going to reach across all values." The Presbyterians, we're going to talk about making the world a better place, and that will be Francis's legacy. Because, like it or not, the Catholics are a very large religion. And he set that church down a new path, a path of, for the lack of a better way to put it, love and understanding. And we're about to find out, is it going to be a return of the Catholic Church to the church of yore, the church of let's tell everybody what to do in the bedroom and keep women down, and or is it going to be a church that understands, yes, we have our laws and we have our doctrines, but we also understand that we're here to serve God. We're here to serve and care for the people and bring those two together. And you don't do that through, for the lack of a better way to put it, hatred. What a life, right? To go through, yeah, another Benedict. I love that you people know who these people are and what their stances were and what they represented. I love you people so damn much for that. But what a life. Growing up poor in Argentina, growing up in Buenos Aires, working everything from construction to a bouncer to being the man that leads one of the world's largest churches on a path of caring and understanding. What a legacy. What a legacy. And you know me, I am not a Christian. I don't believe this stuff. But I tell you, I know good people when I see it. I know good people when I see it. Well, folks, this happened. This happened. Y'all are going to love this. I told you, we don't talk about it, be about it. And when I keep telling you folks, get involved with your local party, that we've got to change our outlook to local politics and build a foundation to where we can take control and change the view and the way our country works and the way our country operates. And that is all done locally. When I told you that, I wasn't being a hypocrite. I work with my local Democratic parties. I was just speaking in the East Texas Regional Conference of Democrats. I do what I can to keep people fired up and moving in the right direction. And folks, this just happened. From school boards to mayors to all across Texas, we had elections. Just had elections. Tarrant County just had elections. I mean, just counties, Bexar County down to San Antonio. Dallas County, dude. San Antonio, Texas used to be an incredibly blue city. They've had a Republican mayor. Now that's going to a runoff, and he's probably going to lose. We're probably going to have a Democratic mayor down in San Antonio again. Dallas County, just all across the state. We've had, like I said, everything from school boards to mayors and all of the local elections. We are cleaning house. It is a sea change because you people heard the call and you got involved locally. And it makes a huge difference going forward. A huge difference going forward. Colleen, Sarah, in my opinion, keep religion out of everything. Be kind, decent, respectful, and accepting. Put the human at the forefront. I agree with you 100%, Colleen, Sarah. My religious beliefs are They call me a humanist. It's because I believe that although I believe in a creator, I believe that it's our societies. We were anyway. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Yes, it's about us as a society and decency and working together and working to create a world that is better for all of us. And I have to tell you, people here in Texas are busting their ass to make that happen. And we just showed at the ballot box where it matters that it is absolutely paying off. The intersection with Amy Manuel. I was an election clerk for early voting and election. Glad to see you. See, that's what I'm talking about, Amy. Thank you for supporting the show, but thank you for getting involved. Thank you for getting involved. Thanks for doing what is necessary. And I want to give another shout out right now to Kendall Scudder. He is the new head of the Texas Democratic Party, and he is 100% fighting to do this way. All politics is local. He is out there giving speeches every day, talking to people, getting people motivated, getting people out there to understand that if we can do this at the local level, most of these elections are decided by a handful of votes, just a handful. If you can change all of those, you can decimate the Republican power base and their control. It doesn't matter. There's no such thing as a safe red seat because we are fighting on the local level to get people turned out. And I have to tell you, this is a massive opportunity. And I've told you folks before, I've been completely honest about this. I've got a son that I love more than life itself, that I would give my organs to, who has died in the Woolmaga. And I swear to God, he used to do it just to piss me off. But he's changed. He's changed. We just had a conversation, and he's gone through that evolution. And you folks that have been around in politics for a long time, y'all know this is the first step. Every journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. My son, who used to just send me ridiculous MAGA stuff just to try to piss me off, stupid talking points, looked me in my eye yesterday and told me that both sides were stupid and neither side gave a shit about the average American. Folks, that is a huge evolution. That is someone that has left the cult. And if that can happen with my son, that can happen with anyone. And we just have to keep doing it. We can't go radical. We can't go deep end. We can't be drugged to the extremes. Just keep the lights on. Keep doing the right thing and get involved at the local level. Folks, I'm telling you, you can change the world in your own backyard because we're all connected. We're all connected. There are Democratic parties out there that are full of very, very old people that love our country, that would die to have young people. One of the discussions that came up in this, I told you, we just had this last meeting where I gave a speech. Roland Huddleston, thanks for being here. I appreciate you. There were two primary topics that were discussed. One, Democrats need to fight much harder. We need to be swinging. No more about this. Stop telling me about your damn policy and start punching people in the damn eye. That was not us telling the group. That was the group telling us. And believe me, we had people from Austin, we had people from all across the state hearing this. And the other was exactly what I've been pushing for. As long as we keep fighting at the local level in your backyard and winning these elections, we will change this state. Folks, it's not that long ago this entire state was blue. This entire state was blue. But we lost sight of a few things. We did. It's important to fight for our values. It's important to fight for the things that we believe in. But folks, the first thing that has to be is keeping the lights on, keeping people with jobs that they can feed their families with. The business of America is business. We cannot become so radical that we're all anti-business. We can't. We've got to be here to support those businesses. And I got to tell you, Kendall Scudder is doing an amazing job. I've been incredibly impressed because not only, does he work and understand and advance the causes of the activists, which is a problem for us here in the activists have been a problem for us here in the state of Texas, not because of who they are and what they believe in and what they're fighting for. It's a problem because we lost so much of the corporate base to the Republicans that the activists, they're the ones that are paying the bills and keeping the lights on in the Democratic Party and keeping people motivated, which means their message is the bullhorn. That is turning a lot of mainstream America off. What we're doing here in Texas is we're taking the average person who doesn't fall in that camp. Your average person is not on the extremes. They aren't. The average person is down the middle somewhere. They are. And what they're focused on and what they find is important are the issues that will carry us over the line and help us make the world a better place. The activism is fantastic. This is our conscience, but this is our soul. And I've just been incredibly impressed with Kendall Scudder. I have. Hats off to the job you're doing, my friend. That is a very difficult line to walk because often the groups that he's trying to coalesce together, if you're talking to one group, the other group accuses you of being a traitor. If you're talking to the other group accuses you of being a traitor. And I think that is something that Trump has finally beaten out of us, that there's no room for cancel culture within our own party, that we all understand nobody's going to get 100% of what they want, but we're going to fight our asses off so that we can get 90% of what we want. Perfection is the enemy of good, and we're going to be damn good. Stop cuddling stupid. Be the person, says, be the person your dog thinks you are. Get involved. Amen. Amen. But yeah, the pudding is there. If you will just get involved locally, we're winning. George, I love you, but Jessica Denson and I are in two different camps. We really are. We really are. I will never, ever come here until someone brings me hard evidence. I will never sit here and I will never go down that road because it doesn't win elections. Telling people that the elections were stolen from them doesn't win elections. It doesn't. Telling people that they can get involved and make the difference, that wins elections. I mean, I understand, and I am in no way. My friend Christopher Titus is in that camp, and I understand, but I am not there. I am not. Miss the days of Ann Richards and Molly Ivins. Glad to hear new Democratic voices, including yours. Yes, that's what we're getting back to. There was nothing about Ann Richards that was anti-business anywhere. When Ann Richards was governor, we built this oil industry here in the state of Texas. We did. And, you know, folks, I'm all for a clean environment. I am. But what we cannot do is everybody can't have electric cars tomorrow. We don't have the power grid to support it. So I got an idea. Let's elect Democrats that'll build the power grid. But in the meantime, you're going to have to go to a gas pump and buy gasoline. So we need somebody that is going to allow, that is going to govern in such a way that we're pressuring car manufacturers to build the lowest emissions possible cars, so that in the meantime, we're not destroying our environment on the way there. While we, because logistics is unforgiving, folks. It is. Logistics is unforgiving. If I could take a magic wand out and all of a sudden we had the infrastructure to support all electric vehicles, and everybody had electric vehicles, we would still need 40% of the oil we're using today. And that would increase dramatically because those cars have to be light. They have to be lightweight. There's going to be tons of plastics in them. Tons of plastics in them. There just are. The battery casings, the insulators, everything, that all comes from oil, folks. Oil is never going away. So I have an idea. Let's quit shitting on the people that bring it to us and start working to bring them into the fold so that we can do this cleaner. Common sense. Patrick Rainville, all politics are local. Amen. Amen. I'm sorry, Texas Paul, you said lights on. Just kidding. Don't apologize, man. We are a big house here. I don't shit on anybody that likes Jessica Denson. I don't. If you believe that this election was stolen in your heart of hearts, it's not me to tell you you're wrong. It's not. I'm just here to tell you I've seen the exit polling from the last election, and it jives with what the results are. And when those two things jive, you just got your ass beat. And we need to have a wake-up call and do the right thing so that we can win tomorrow. And that we do that by fighting locally, bringing your beliefs and your decency to our local governments. Got a birthday in the house. Everybody wish BJ Milback a happy birthday. And we've got a few minutes left. We've got almost 2 hours, but we got a few minutes left. Am I getting the point across the way I think I am? I'm not for dirtying the environment. I'm not. I'm just for keeping the economy rolling and keeping people in jobs and doing the things. I mean, logistics is real. We have to keep the lights on. We have to keep the cars running. We have to keep the trains running. We have to keep, everything has to happen. We can work to go to a cleaner, more viable future. We can. But it makes no sense to beat the shit out of the people that are taking care of us today. To me, that just makes no sense. And all it does is alienate people that we need today. I am telling you right now, if you are an executive, Pioneer Energy, Diamondback Energy, Mobil, Exxon Mobil, I don't give a damn. If you want to come to the Democratic Party and you want to help support us so that we can push things through that are just common sense and business, and you can allow us to help you, we're not asking you to pay for a ton of shit. We realize we need, right now, there's a huge fight here in East Texas because there's a lot of drilling and stuff that's been going on in Louisiana. What's left over after drilling is toxic. It is. It's toxic. So We need the drilling. We need the oil. What do we do with the toxic shit? Well, right now there are private companies that they take it. There's a better way. The government could do that. You and me have a vested interest in that this get done cleanly because one, we want the oil, and two, we want it to be clean. Why don't we do that? Why don't we take that shit and make sure that it's being disposed of properly and do it without bankrupting the oil companies, because we want the oil companies to bring us the damn oil. It's our interest. It's our interest. Why don't we do that? So that we end up with a clean environment. We end up with none of this stuff going into your drinking water. Oh, no, it doesn't cost too much. We're doing it right now. Common sense. We're doing it right now. It's baked into the cake in every gallon of gasoline that you put in your car. We're doing it right now. It's just private industry is doing it, and private industry has a profit motive, and they want to do it as cheap as humanly possible, which is where your accidents happen, your spillage happens. It's because of that motivation. Isn't doing the best job, it's making the most profit. I'm saying if we look at this at a pro-business point of view, when we look at this in a pro-business point of view and say, okay, look, we need them bringing us oil, but we don't want the mess and we don't want the nastiness. Let's do that. Instead of fighting the game, let's get in the game. Anyways, just food for thought. I love you folks. This is Old Texas Paul. Whew. Made it to another hump day. Let's go check and see how they're doing on finding a pope. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.